Here.
Hey swingers, welcome back to another fast-paced episode of Tire Swing Games plays Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for the Nintendo Switch.
I'm Seth. I'm the Luigi in the bourgeoisie Mercedes.
I'm Logan. I'm playing on my motorbike.
Oh, your little moped, your Peter Parker moped?
What? No. What Peter Parker moped? Okay.
Spider-Man 3 and 2.
Okay, I don't remember either of those two, at all. Swingers, it's been since July since we played this last, and it's November now.
It's been a hot second.
Intangibility, Swingers, awful superpower. Just a terrible superpower. And so, really, it's really easy to explain why it's so bad. So, when you're intangible, right? Like in all the movies, when they're... let me rephrase it. Intangibility in Danny Phantom works out fine. Intangibility for Kitty Pryde in X-Men, very bad superpower. So, in most intangibility, you see the person walk through a wall. But that means their feet can't be intangible. Because if they were, they just fall through the ground. Either that, or they're just not affected by gravity, which would mean that...
There's more to that intangibleness.
And if they're not affected by gravity, that means what holds them to the ground anyways. So, to be intangible, you have to be... To walk through a wall, you have to walk through it. But that means... Your feet still have to be intangible while they're tangible while they're touching the ground, but when they're in the air going through the wall, they have to be intangible, right?
Yeah, so are you shitting me? As soon as I get first...
Yeah, I'm playing really badly too.
That's not the point.
That didn't hurt you though. Not really.
It slowed me down. Now
that hurt you.
That hurt me big.
So your feet need to be tangible to walk through a wall.
But
so
only one at a time, whichever one's planted on the ground.
Yeah, but the thing is, Seth, if you're just standing there being like, ha 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 ha, you can't hit me with your bullets, I'm intangible. Swingers, just shoot him in the foot.
That's assuming the swingers have good enough aim to shoot him in the foot.
I mean, it depends on how far they are. But just shoot him in the foot, right? And then, because it's assumed that intangibility is an active ability, not passive, that means they'll become fully passive or fully tangible after you shoot them in the foot.
That is how that works, yes.
Some other things to note though is if you're intangible,
you bitch.
How do you breathe?
Okay, so there is an explanation for that. You don't. You just hold your breath.
Yeah, but if you want to be
robbed,
intangible for long periods of time, you need to be able to breathe. But if you're intangible, that means your lungs are intangible, which means they can't hold, or they can't get the oxygen. Which means none of your body can get the oxygen.
Okay. But that also means you don't process vitamin D, obviously.
Well, that's sunlight?
Yeah.
Well, intangible and invisible are not the same thing, so... Other things to note, though. I just had another one that I just thought of.
There's, other superpowers that would suck,
Oh, okay. I do want to keep going over intangibility, because I just remembered what I thought of. It's one of the issues I have with teleportation. And so when you turn intangible... That means the space that you were just in, and same when teleporting, is now void. It's a vacuum. So it's going to fill up, right? That's fair and normal. The arrow flow in, right? But as soon as you reappear from your teleport, or become tangible again, you have to somehow turn the space that had material in it, because you aren't in a vacuum when you exit your teleport, or intangibility. So that space has air in it. You have to somehow displace it. And how do you do that? You know what I'm saying? Like Castlevania, sort of
Vania.
covered it briefly. I know how it is, Seth. In the anime, when they teleported the castle, because I think
There was just a void for a hot second that filled with water.
Yeah, but they didn't do anything to explain the lack of, like, what happens to the air. Oh, that was lucky, and you know it.
You know, I just dropped it for the item box.
That doesn't explain what happens to the air and other materials where the castle appears.
There was a brief explosion.
Yeah, and that's kind of the best way to do it, I guess.
Because, like, you are suddenly displacing a lot of volume of air and other materials, so it would be kind of explosive, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but that's assuming, like, your displacement of it actually displaces it, like... What, like...
Rather than swapping it?
Yeah, I mean, it could just be, at least for teleportation, that not only do you teleport, but the material that is where you're going to end up just goes to where you were before.
Which, super awkward, actually, Swingers.
No, I think that's a decent enough explanation. Like, it's not perfect, but it'd be better than just not having the explanation.
At all.
Yeah. Oh, you had already finished the race. It's fine. I'll just throw my boomerang backwards.
Now, here's my 2 cents on what would be an absolutely garbage superpower to have. Telepathy. Simply because, like, I'm not talking about the function of it here. People say dumb shit all the time. Now think about what they're holding back.
That's mind reading. Telepathy isn't that the one where you... Oh, wait, no, I'm thinking telekinesis.
Yes.
No, but here's the other thing about intangibility. You know how, like, in certain movies, like in X3, right? Kitty Pryde intangibles Juggernaut into the ground, right?
And he's like, I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!
And just breaks out of the ground.
Yes.
Which means... So, in one of the X-Men comics, they cover it a lot better with the explanation of if you go intangible and then go into retangibilize in a material, like a wall or something, you're gonna fuse with that wall. And it's gonna hurt and probably kill you. Because you're not displacing the material. So, when Juggernaut is able to break out of that concrete floor...
It makes no fucking sense.
Because it's essentially like, the assumption is your molecules are getting space between the rock molecules. Not the rock molecules just disappearing completely, inexplicably.
Right. So... You're not gonna like my analogy.
Oh, no.
But My Hero Academia actually
Sucks.
does explain their version of intangibility better. Why did I get fucking booed there? Why me? Aren't I struggling enough?
Nope.
Because Mirio has to hold his breath while he's intangible. He can't see while he's intangible. And he can't feel when he's intangible.
So, I'm gonna go back to the whole... I don't think you're intangible, you're not invisible. That doesn't, like, so the assumption that you can't see doesn't necessarily hold. I think you can still, because you're still visible, right? Like, almost every time we see a character that's intangible, they're still visible. So I would argue that for the most part isn't a great argument or one that necessarily is needed to be consistent in all, universes. But what I was gonna say, Danny Phantom's intangibility is fine and different because the dude's a ghost anyways with multiple other powers.
And you can't see him.
Well, you can, but like
if he doesn't want you to see him, you won't.
Yeah. So let me rephrase that because I kind of skipped over a piece. When you're intangible and you go through the floor, how do you get back out? Right? Because you're intangible.
My Hero Academia explained that well, but I don't remember what their explanation was. Also, that lightning saved you. like
Sure it did.
3 times this race.
Yeah, same with those 3 red shells you hit me with, right?
I hit you with 1.
You hit me with at least 2. But so Danny Phantom, on the other hand, he's a ghost boy that can fly. So at least there's an explanation there of if he intangibles through the floor on how he can get back out. But Kitty Pryde, she doesn't intangible all the way through the floor, so you can kind of argue like she retangibles like a very specific portion of herself that pushes herself back upwards, I guess.
Like a slingshot.
Well, not like a slingshot, more like an elevator, but sure.
Escalator.
No,
Why the fuck?
definitely elevator.
Why the fuck did that hit me?
Stop trying to change my analogy. I had the right one.
Why not eels?
What? Eels?
Escalators, escalators, escalators!
Seth, but we're...
Eels.
No. Stop making references that don't work.
No, I will force as many references as I can into one episode.
Swingers, this is why we don't let Seth do anything.
The game isn't even letting me fucking play it.
Maybe you just need to get good. God, I'm driving so poorly.
You're in first, fucker. I got shoved down to 5th by the hand of God.
Uh-huh. I think it was actually Bowser. Which, like...
Volcano Los Dos.
I see the similarities, don't get me wrong, but, Bowser's much more handsome.
Bowser is much more handsome than God.
Seth, you have way more coins than me. I just got to 8 because I had a coin jumper. But...
Are you gonna keep continuing on about Kitty Pryde?
No. I'm going to invisibility next.
Okay. Danny Phantoms is the only one that makes sense.
He's a ghost. No, okay, so, they kind of cover it decently-ish in The Boys, where the dude's explanation is, my skin is this special material. It's also what makes me indestructible. But here's the thing, swingers. If only your skin is this material that lets you go invisible, your organs should still show up. But
weirdly enough, Venture Bros talked about that.
But let's just assume that your organs are also all invisible too, right? That still doesn't solve all of the problem. Are you kidding me? So that was what, 3 red shells and a blue shell before you were finally able to catch up and win, Seth?
I was right behind you after clawing my way back up from 5th.
And you weren't gonna beat me.
Yeah, because you stole my final item box. I had nothing.
I was in front of you, therefore that you missed getting a box of your own accord.
No, you stole it. I only go for 2s.
Yeah, but like...
Never go for singles.
That's your fault, not mine.
It's a strat.
Yeah, but like, you could have just not been behind me and gotten a different one.
Benoit.
False.
See, it's automatic, swingers.
We'll talk about invisibility in the next episode, swingers.
Next time!